And welcome back, and it is the 21st of March, the high plus 5 a day, and let's just jump straight to the first question. Right, so it's a pretty standard GCSE question, this one now, which is once you've done it a few times, it's okay. First time, very difficult. It says, here is a circle, centre O, which they all are at GCSE, and then basically it wants the tangent at the point 2 minus 4. And the way you're going to do this is a sort of step process. I don't really like calling it a process because I like you to understand why we're doing it, but in effect, it is a set process. And the process is I'm going to start by finding out the gradient to the radius that gets me to P. So the gradient to the radius is the gradient to the line O to P, which is to go down 4 and across 2. So in other words, that is minus 2. So minus 4 divided by 2 is minus 2. The whole point of this is you need to know the gradient of a tangent is the negative reciprocal, because it's at 90 degrees, to the radius. So in other words, the gradient of my tangent is going to be a half. And then I know that my line y equals a half x plus c. Well, that goes through the point 2 minus 4, which means that minus 4 is equal to a half times 2, the x value, plus c. Minus 4, well, half of 2 is 1 plus c, which means that c is equal to, take away 1 from both sides, minus 5. So the answer to my question is going to be y is equal to a half x minus 5. Question done. Next question. Okay, what do we have? So we have a solve, and it's obviously a quadratic, and moreover it's got an inequality, so therefore it's a quadratic inequality. Steps here. Now this one's not too bad, because what I want to do is I want to do a quick sketch and find out where it crosses the axis. And I know that I can factorize this down to m minus 9, m minus 4. One of these is going to be a plus. I want plus 5, so plus 9 minus 4 is 5, so it's m plus 9, m minus 4. And that is less than 0. That gives me a root of minus 9. This gives me a root of 4, which means when I plot my graph, I know I've got minus 9 here and 4 here. Now, plotting the graph is really helpful because then I can clearly see that I want all values that are below. So in other words, I want all values that are between minus 9 and 4. In other words, which x values give me a negative y value? Well, it's between minus 9 and 4. Question done. Next question. So this tells us that S is a geometric sequence. Now, because it tells us this, that means that we know that the second term divided by the first term is the same as the third term divided by the second term, etc., etc. They have a common ratio to get from one term to the next and one term to the next. And it gives us 3 terms. So in other words, it must be the case that 2x minus 15 divided by, what's the second term, x, that must be equal to x divided by x plus 18. In other words, third term divided by second term equals second term divided by first term. This is something I can cross multiply. So that's going to tell me that 2x minus 15 times x plus 18 is equal to x squared. And then I'm very carefully just going to expand this. So that's going to give me 2x squared. 2x times 18 is 36x. Minus 15 times x is minus 15x, and now I'm going to need my calculator for this one. 15 times 18 is 270, so minus 270, and that's all equal to x squared. I'm just going to quickly add a line down here so I can actually get rid of the line in the middle, just so I can carry on going. And then there's a third question, or a final question. I'm going to put that in that little box there, hopefully. So let's carry on with the math. So what have I got? So let's collect terms. So 2x squared minus the x squared from the other side gives me x squared. 36x minus 15 is plus 21x minus 270, and that's equal to 0. Now, I actually think I can factorize this because I think, well, I don't think, I know 270 is 3 times 9 times 10. And if I put the 10 with the 3, that gives me 30, and 30 minus 9 is 21. So actually, let me just write it down. So that x minus 9x plus 30, I think that works, doesn't it? Because 30 minus 9 is 21, minus 9 times 30 is minus 270. That's good, that works. A bit of luck there, I have to say. I was about to do the quadratic formula. Anyway, that tells me that x is equal to 9 or x is equal to minus 30. Next question, which one is it? Well, if I go back to the question, hopefully it will tell me. So the first 3 terms of S are, well, there we go, where x is positive. So it tells me in the question that x is positive, which means I know this one isn't true and this one is, and therefore the answer to the question, find the value of x, x is equal to 9. Good, quite difficult question. Next question. or final part of this question, I should say. Find the fifth term of s. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the terms. So the first term is x plus 18. Well, x is 9, 9 plus 18 is 27. The second term is going to be, well, it's just x, isn't it? So therefore, that's just going to be 9. I can see what the common ratio is already, but let's check with the last one. And then 2x minus 19 is 18 minus 15, which is going to give me, well, that's 3. So I can see my common ratios to times by a third, which means to find the fifth term, well, I don't really need to find the nth term there because it's actually quite quick just to multiply by a third and multiply by a third again to give me the fifth term. So a third times a third is 1, times another third is going to tell me that the fifth term is just 1/3. That was a nice, difficult question. We haven't seen one of those in a long time, if at all, so far. Let me know how you did today. I like today's mix of questions again, sort of testing those underlying skills. As ever, do like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one. Thanks all.